Have you ever noticed something strange about money in America? How people can earn $60,000, $90,000, even $150,000 a year. Yet somehow, they still live paycheck to paycheck. Their savings never grow, and financial stress never goes away. This isn't bad luck. It isn't laziness. And it isn't just the economy. It's because millions of Americans are stuck inside a hidden financial cycle, a cycle designed to keep you spending no matter how much you earn. And once you understand this cycle, you'll see why some people stay broke in the United States, no matter how high their income rises. Meet Marcus from Houston and Sarah from New Jersey. Marcus earns $88,000 a year working in tech. Sarah earns $72,000 in healthcare. Good incomes, stable careers. On paper, they're doing well. But at the end of every month, their bank accounts tell a different story. No emergency savings, no investments, just bills, payments, and debt. They both say the same thing. If I could just make a little more money, things would finally get better. But every time their income goes up, their spending quietly goes up with it. This isn't a coincidence. In America, it's a pattern. This pattern has a name. It's called lifestyle creep. In the US, every raise, every promotion, every bonus comes with an invisible temptation to upgrade your lifestyle just a little bit. You move into a nicer apartment. You upgrade the car. You eat out more often. You add more subscriptions. You shop a little more on Amazon. You take on just a few more monthly payments. Nothing feels irresponsible. Every decision feels earned, reasonable, deserved. But together, these small upgrades act like tiny holes in a bucket. No matter how much money you pour in, the bucket never fills. A newer SUV with a $620 monthly payment instead of keeping the paid-off car. A bigger house with higher property taxes, HOA fees, and utilities. Celebrating promotions with recurring lifestyle expenses. Subscription stacking, streaming, apps, memberships. And because each decision feels normal, years pass before people realize their income increased, but their wealth never did. But lifestyle creep is only the surface layer of the American money trap, because in the U.S., lifestyle upgrades rarely come alone. In America, debt isn't just common, it's marketed as a way of life. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, store financing, buy now, pay later, zero down deals, upgrade plans. Debt becomes a permanent monthly bill. Debt doesn't only take your money today, it takes the money you haven't earned yet. Marcus buys a $2,200 laptop on a payment plan. With interest and fees, he'll end up paying over $3,100 for the same laptop. Sarah upgrades her phone, $0 down, easy monthly payments. It feels harmless until 2 years pass, and the phone bill never goes away because the next upgrade replaces it with another payment. In America, debt feels painless today and painful tomorrow. And most people, without realizing it, always choose today. So even when their income increases, their future is already spent in advance. But here's the shocking part. Even if someone avoided lifestyle creep and avoided debt completely, many Americans would still stay broke. And the reason is hidden much deeper, inside the money beliefs and habits shaped since childhood. At this point, Marcus and Sarah don't feel careless. They feel frustrated. They work hard. They earn more than before. Yet life doesn't feel any easier. So they blame the city they live in, the cost of living, their job, or bad timing. But what they don't realize is this. They are stuck inside a repeating financial pattern, one that millions of Americans fall into without ever seeing it. And in the next module, we uncover the psychology behind staying broke in America, how childhood lessons, family habits, fear, and belief systems quietly program the financial decisions people make as adults, often without them even knowing. Lifestyle creep makes spending rise every time income rises. Debt turns upgrades into permanent monthly payments. Many Americans stay broke not because of income, but because they repeat invisible spending patterns. In Module 2, we dive into the mindset traps that shape money behavior in the United States, the hidden beliefs that silently decide whether someone builds wealth or stays stuck in financial survival mode. If you're serious about breaking the cycle, don't stop here. Continue to Module 2. What you discover next may completely change the way you think about money.
In America, you don't have to be reckless to stay broke. You just have to live normally. Because in the US, The system is designed so that the average person can work hard, earn more money than ever before, and still feel like they're running on a treadmill, never moving forward. And here's the crazy part. Most Americans don't even realize they're trapped in a lifestyle that quietly drains their money every single day. In this module, we're going to expose the silent money traps hidden inside everyday American life and why millions of people stay broke even when their paycheck keeps getting bigger. Let's start with one of the biggest silent money traps in America, the convenience economy. America is built on speed, comfort, and instant access. Food, shopping, transportation, entertainment, everything is designed to be easy. But convenience has a hidden price tag. Individually, each expense feels tiny. $10 here, $20 there. But multiplied across a month and across an entire lifestyle, these habits quietly erase disposable income before people even realize where the money went. The problem isn't overspending on luxuries. It's overspending on automatic decisions, payments people don't even question anymore. And this leads us into the next trap, one that most Americans don't see until it's too late. In the US, when income goes up, spending goes up with it. A raise doesn't feel like progress. It feels like permission to upgrade life. Someone gets a better job. They move to a bigger apartment. They finance a newer car. They upgrade their phone, their wardrobe, and their weekend habits. Their lifestyle improves, but their financial situation doesn't. This is called lifestyle inflation. It's when your expenses grow side by side with your income. So even though you're earning more, you're not actually getting richer. In America, comfort is marketed as success, and people end up chasing appearances instead of stability. But lifestyle inflation isn't the deadliest trap, because there's one that feels responsible, logical, even adult-like. Yet it keeps millions of Americans broke for decades. In many countries, debt is viewed as a last resort. But in the United States, debt is treated like oxygen. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, buy now, pay later. Debt is embedded into nearly every major purchase. Most Americans don't stay broke because they're irresponsible. They stay broke because interest payments eat their future before they ever receive it. Debt creates the illusion of progress, while quietly delaying financial freedom by years, sometimes decades. But there's another trap, one far more cultural, and it explains why many Americans continue struggling even when they try to do everything right. In the US, financial pressure doesn't just come from bills. It comes from expectations. People don't just spend to live, they spend to belong. Money decisions stop being logical and start becoming emotional. And the saddest part? Most people who feel broke are not failing financially. They're performing a lifestyle the system taught them to imitate. But if all these traps exist, the real question becomes, can the average American ever escape them? In the next module, we expose the breaking point, the exact moment when many Americans realize they've been trapped in a cycle that was never designed for their success, and what separates the people who escape from those who stay stuck for life. If this is opening your eyes, stay with us. Module 3 might be the chapter that finally explains why progress feels impossible, and how some people finally break free.
For millions of Americans, the moment of financial awakening doesn't happen when they're broke. It happens when they're earning the most money they've ever made in their lives, and still feel like they're drowning. There comes a day when the paycheck clears, the bills get paid, and there's nothing left. And that's when it finally hits. If working harder was the solution, I wouldn't still feel stuck. This module explores that moment, the breaking point when Americans realize the system isn't built for financial freedom, and the quiet decisions they make after that moment that determine whether they escape the cycle or stay trapped forever. For many people, the breaking point arrives slowly. It's not one big crisis. It's a pattern that keeps repeating. The rent renewal notice arrives, and the price jumps again. The car payment, insurance, and gas swallow half the paycheck. Groceries cost more than last year, but income feels the same. Credit card balances rise even when minimum payments are made. At first, it feels temporary. Things will get better next month. But next month looks just like the last one. This is the moment when people realize their expenses are rising faster than their income, and the math is no longer playing on their side. And then comes the most painful discovery, one that changes how they see money forever. In America, most people grow up believing one promise. If you work hard, you'll be okay. But at the breaking point, that belief cracks. Someone works 2 jobs or extra shifts. They sacrifice weekends. They miss family time. They come home exhausted. The paycheck increases, but stress increases too. And then they notice something shocking. The harder they work, the more companies, bills, and interest payments benefit, not them. They begin to realize working harder without changing financial habits is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. That realization hurts, but it also opens a new door. When someone reaches the financial breaking point, they usually choose one of 2 paths, sometimes without even realizing it. Some people accept the struggle as normal. They stop questioning the system and start telling themselves, that's just life in America. They normalize credit card balances. They accept that retirement may never happen. They rely on borrowing to survive emergencies. They numb financial stress with spending, entertainment, or distractions. They learn to live with financial pressure until it becomes part of their identity. But others react differently. Instead of accepting the struggle, they start asking questions. Why do I always feel behind? Where is my money actually going? What am I doing wrong, or what am I not seeing? This group realizes something powerful. The problem isn't only how much they earn, it's how the system trains them to use money. And that realization marks the beginning of transformation, but only if they take the next step. Every American who eventually breaks free starts with the same shift. They stop asking, how do I make more money? And start asking, how do I stop losing the money I already make? They review bank statements for the first time in years. They cancel subscriptions they forgot existed. They notice how much goes to interest instead of progress. They see how impulse spending replaces future security. This stage isn't about wealth. It's about awareness. The moment someone sees the pattern, they can never unsee it again. But awareness alone isn't enough, because once you wake up, you face one final question. What do I do now? In the next module, we move from awakening to action. We reveal the small but life-changing shifts that separate Americans who finally gain control of their finances from those who fall back into the cycle. Because escaping financial struggle isn't about luck. It's about understanding the quiet rules of money that most people were never taught. If this story feels familiar, stay with us. Module May 4th be the chapter that helps you change direction, not just with money, but with your future.
Most people believe that escaping financial struggle requires a miracle, a massive raise, a lottery win, or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But for thousands of Americans who finally broke free, the real change didn't start with more money. It started with different decisions. This is the chapter where everything shifts, where awareness turns into action, and small financial changes begin to quietly transform entire lives. For years, many Americans live in reaction mode with money. The bills arrive, the paycheck drops, and money moves automatically, without direction or purpose. The first real turning point happens when someone moves from reacting to money to directing it. Instead of asking, "Where did my money go?" they begin asking, "Where do I want my money to go before the month even starts?" This isn't about perfection. It's about finally taking the steering wheel. Across the United States, one habit consistently shows up in people who eventually escape financial pressure. It isn't extreme budgeting. It isn't depriving themselves. It's simply this. They start paying themselves first, before rent, before bills, before spending. Even if it's just a small amount, they set aside money for their future self. At first, it may be $10, $20, maybe $50. It feels small, almost insignificant. But over time, that decision builds confidence, discipline, and momentum. This moment matters because it sends a message. I matter too. My future matters as much as my present comfort. And once that shift happens, spending begins to look very different. For many Americans, spending isn't financial behavior. It's emotional relief. But transformation begins when spending is no longer about escaping stress, and instead becomes about supporting priorities. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this today?" people start asking, "Is this helping my future self or taking from it?" This isn't restriction, it's alignment. One of the most powerful transformations doesn't happen in a bank account. It happens in identity. Builders stop chasing quick wins and start building slow, steady progress. They choose stability over lifestyle upgrades. They reduce debt not to save money, but to gain peace. They value time, energy, and control as much as income. And that shift, from survival to creation, often marks the true beginning of financial freedom. Here's the truth that rarely gets told in financial success stories. Real transformation doesn't feel dramatic at first. It feels slow. It feels quiet. It feels ordinary. There are no fireworks, just small wins stacking one day at a time. And yet, somewhere along the journey, stress turns into stability, fear turns into confidence, and money stops controlling life, because life finally begins to control money. If you've reached this point, remember, financial freedom rarely begins with more income. It begins with new choices made consistently, one quiet habit at a time. And the people who stay broke are not the ones who earn little, but the ones who never change direction. If this story inspired you, subscribe and stay with us, because in our next documentary, we dive even deeper into the psychology of wealth and the hidden habits shaping financial futures across America.